Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and we will continue our 5-part series on family stressors. Today, let's talk specifically about detecting family stressors. Remember on yesterday, we made a distinction between stress and the stressors. The stressors are the things that happen that causes the elevation of the pressure in one's life. So the stress is a result of the stressors. Are you less productive at work than normal? All of a sudden, you are experiencing prolonged headaches that can't be explained? Are you suddenly unable to sleep at night for more than 1 hour intervals or maybe less? Have you considered that they may be some of the stressors or the stimulus at work that are creating stress in your life? So many times it's difficult for us to accept the fact that the things that are disrupting our normal routine might be the stressors or those stimuli that are disrupting our regular day. When you're making the effort to detect stress in the body, maybe it's helpful to utilize some of the tools that have been tried and proven. Mayo Clinic and the American Psychological Association did a report in 2010 entitled Stress in America. And they listed several things for individuals to be aware of that may point out that stress is really escalating and present in their lives. Here are some of the things to watch for: headaches, muscle tension and muscle aches, chest pain, fatigue, change in sex drive, and even an upset stomach. Look back in your life and see if those things are not just present today, but over the past 60 or 90 days, with what frequency have you experienced these symptoms of headaches, muscle tension, muscle aches, chest pain, fatigue, change in sex drive, and even upset stomachs? When you look at the detection of stress in your mood, that's another area that sometimes is overlooked. What we just finished were the detectors that's in the physical body. But what about those detectors that are just in how you respond? Again, in this same APA and the Mayo Clinic study of stress in America in 2010, they noted several things that are present in one's mood or attitude: anxiety, restlessness, lack of motivation, irritability, anger, sad, and depressed. So when you look at the stressors in the body, and then you look at the stressors in just one's mood: anxiousness, restlessness, lack of motivation, irritability, anger, sad, and depressed, are you suffering from those stressors that we will talk about in a later presentation? But I want you to think through your physical body, your mood. Now, what about your behaviors? In that same 2010 study of stress in America, Mayo Clinic and the American Psychological Association noted that there are certain shifts in behavior that can communicate there are stressors going on within a person: overeating, undereating, angry outburst, self-medicating like alcohol use, drug usage, illicit drugs, and sometimes the abuse of prescribed medications. What about social withdrawals? All of a sudden there is no interest in those things and being in those environments that were once exciting and exhilarating to be around. So look at those 3 components of who you are to determine if there are really some stressors that are happening in your life that are triggering stress. Look at a change in your body, look at a change in your mood, and then look at the change in your behaviors. When we look biblically at stress, sometimes, especially in the religious world, people think there's something ungodly, or maybe they're not spiritual enough if they experience stress. Family stress often originates from unreasonable demands, and many of those unreasonable demands can come from within a religious setting or from people who have a relationship at some level with God. In the book of Esther, chapter 3, verses 13 through 15, there's a good story that helps individuals understand that stressors can come from any source, spiritual or non-spiritual. And the letters were sent by post into the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandments, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city of Shushan was perplexed. You have body tension, mood change, and you're having a behavioral shift in the Persian Empire. The Jews are in exile. They are in a phase of the exile that has moved them from under the rule of the Babylonians to under rule of the Medes and the Persians. And under the Persian king, there was a man by the name of Haman who hated the Jews, specifically Mordecai. But in order to destroy Mordecai, he had to devise a more global plan to destroy the whole nation of the Jews, but his real target was Mordecai. In the process of doing this, the Jews as a nation are going to experience stress, but the stress is triggered by some stressors, and those stressors are written in the king's commandments. It's going to cause the Jews to be destroyed, killed, perish. They're young, they're old, they're boys, they're girls. It didn't matter. And those stressors are going to create some internal anxieties of the body. It's going to cause some mood shifts, and it's going to cause some behavioral changes. But understand that most of the stress that is experienced, whether it's in the book of Esther or in your personal lives, typically comes from unreasonable demands. When you look at the last verse, and the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. Isn't it interesting that those who causes stress in people's lives are not stressed? They don't understand what they're doing, and sometimes they do understand, like Haman, what he was doing to the people. And yet the king thought everything was fine. Come back on tomorrow, and we will develop this series to talk about the types of family stressors. Don't be late, and don't skip class.